Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. Happy Tuesday to you. This is Jonathan Harmon of the J Harmon Home Team, powered by Keller Williams. And we are going to start out, as always, giving a big old shout out to my friend over at Iberia Bank Mortgage, Mr. Brian Nail, one of my favorite human beings on the planet. Also happens to be a darn fine lender. So if you need a loan, refi, whatever, hit Brian up and thank him, first of all, for sponsoring this podcast, for spreading the positive as it might be. Thank you, producer Trent, and helping us out, and just generally being a good dude.
He really is.
He really is, isn't he?
He's my go-to guy. So.
Yeah, absolutely. So we love us some Brian Nail. We got back off the camera over there. We got Mr. Producer Trent Denson of Spread the Positive. Hello, Trent.
Hey, everyone.
And here in the hot seat at the table at Table Talk, it is my friend and your friend, Miss Robin Seay. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Thank you for being on with us today.
Thanks for having me.
That was some tremendous applause.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, and then just stopped. Yeah, it was awesome. So Robin, let's just dive right in.
Let's do it.
Tell us a little bit about you, where you're at, what you do, all that kind of stuff.
What don't I do? It's a good question. Now, full-time real estate agent, residential, based here in Murfreesboro, but do most of Middle Tennessee. As you know, we're getting further and further out.
Mm-hmm.
Been full-time for 5 years, been licensed for 7 years. Part of the Bud George team over at Parks.
Yeah. Bud George is a good dude, and his team's pretty good size, right? How many of you guys is there?
We have 10 or 11 agents now. Started out kind of small, and Bud's actually pulling back a little bit on how much time he spends in real estate. So he's added a few people in, and we've got some people to help in the land area and the commercial area, and a little bit of expertise in all the different areas of real estate.
Yeah, that's awesome. And that's the benefit. And that's actually one of our questions about being on a team, is that you do get to specialize in what you are good at and what you love. And that's pretty awesome. So we'll talk more about that here in a second. So you've been a licensed agent for 7 years, and I love what you said, that you went full-time basically 5 years ago. So for 2 years, you were a quote-unquote part-time agent, which is such an interesting thing to say, because were you really a part-time agent? Like, really?
I was. I worked over at MTSU for Airmark doing dining services, accounts receivable, and after about a year and a half, I just realized I wasn't able to give my real estate business what it deserved.
Right.
I was working till 4:30 every day, and then having to tell my clients I can show houses at 5 or later. And you can't do that in real estate. You definitely cannot do that in real estate now.
Yeah, you could have got away with that 5 years ago.
Yeah,
7 years ago for sure.
Definitely could have. But as time passed, I realized, I am grateful for the job that I have, but it's not my long-term dream. And I got to take that chance and jump out there full force with real estate, and hit that 2-year mark and decided, let's do this. It's now or never. And it was one of the best decisions I've ever made.
How scary was it in the moment, though?
It was extremely scary. Single female on my own, student loan debts, nothing in my savings account, nothing in my checking account. I was making $13 an hour. Literally living paycheck to paycheck, if that sometimes. And to jump out there with nothing saved up and no insurance or benefits and nothing in my pipeline was super scary.
So why did you do it? What was it at that moment? Like, what was the second where it snapped and you went, this is what I got to do?
I've always preached to people, if you're not happy doing something, change it. You're not a tree, move. And I got to work every day, and again, very grateful for that job and that opportunity, and my boss, who's very supportive of my career now, but I wasn't happy at my job. I took it out on my coworkers. I took it out on the students, and I just dreaded going to work every day. I was bored, and I was like, I've got to change. Like, I'll never be able to get good at real estate if I'm still doing this on the side. And it's not fair to the company I'm working for me to be doing my real estate, taking off, and to not be present in that job. And it's time for me to leave.
I mean, can you even imagine right now trying to have a captive full-time job and have any kind of success? I mean, you'd be working all the time.
All the time. I mean, as you know, we're working all the time now with real estate. As crazy as it is, I can't imagine doing something else in addition to that. And I tell my friends all the time, I'm single, no kids, no significant other married wise. I don't see how people do it, taking care of kids, taking care of a spouse, taking care of pets, working and doing real estate. I would be insane.
And ultimately not as effective.
Exactly.
Right. And speaking of effective, you're pretty good agent, aren't you?
I tend to think so.
It's okay. It's okay for you to say that out loud. So, what was your production last year?
I did close to 200,000 last year.
Okay. So how many? Sorry, break that down for someone. How many transactions is that for you?
That put me at 21, 22 transactions per year, and I'm the worst at keeping up with these things.
That's okay.
Yeah.
So for reference sake, the national average is around 6.
Yeah.
So your average agent does around 6, and you just absolutely decimated that average. So that's pretty awesome. So, I like to think about things in not necessarily dollars and not necessarily that count, but how many families did I help?
Yep.
How many times did somebody have a dream of either owning a new home, selling their home and owning a different home, whatever that might be, and how many times did you help them accomplish that dream? And it really changes the way you look at things when you see it that way. It really changes how you operate.
It really does, and every person I'm afforded the opportunity to help either buy or sell is a blessing to me. But one of the ones that I cherish very close to me is one I did last year at the very end of the year. I think it was my last transaction last year, was an older couple. It was their first and forever home. They never thought they'd be homeowners. They've been living in the same apartment for 10 years.
Wow.
Never thought that they'd own a house. And I had previously helped her son earlier in the year. And she came to me and she said, I've got one goal for the year, and I want to own a house by the end of the year. And December 28th, we closed on their house.
That's awesome.
I know.
Congratulations to them. That's huge.
And that's my why. It's, hearing stories like that and being able to accomplish those goals and help people out, it means the world.
Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful. I love that. So let me ask you this. So you guys, you're on a fairly sizable team. I'm sure you've been on there for a little while, but you've seen other agents come in. I'm sure you've seen some depart the team, and, even around you at that Parks office, there's a ton of agents, just like there is at KW. And when you see a new agent coming in, I teach at MTAR, Middle Tennessee Association. And, like, I look back, I started in 2009, and I think about trying to get my feet under me in this market. And I'm in awe, honestly, of some of the folks, and some of them are coming in and just really setting the world on fire. They're doing a great job.
Absolutely.
But it's got to be hard. So how would you tell somebody that's aspiring, maybe they just finished their pre-licensing classes, give me your top 3 pieces of advice for that brand new agent?
Get a mentor, first and foremost. Get somebody that you can go to and bounce ideas off of. Find a group of people. For me, finding people my age, different, mindsets helped me a lot whenever I was still part-time coming in. But find somebody that you can latch onto, that you can bounce ideas off, that you can call and go over contracts with. Don't be afraid to mess up. That's huge. I went into it with the mindset of, I gotta be perfect. What happens if I mess up? And Bud tells me all the time, he's been in the business for 24, 25 years, and he still messes up to this day. It's, once you accept that, you're good. And most importantly, just, put your all into it. Don't half-ass it. Excuse my language, but
you're excused.
Don't half-ass it. Go in it, be determined to learn, be determined to grow, and don't go with the mindset of that, you don't need help and that you've got it all figured out.
Yeah. And, I see a lot of folks that they almost need to be given permission to say, I don't know. And in your advice where you get a mentor, my favorite thing to say is, I don't know, but I know where to find out, and I'll get back to you.
Exactly.
And then you do get back to them, right?
You follow up.
Yeah.
You do what you say you're going to do. And people appreciate it a whole lot more if you say, I don't know, but I'll find out, versus and you just winging it, making up something, and it comes back and it's completely wrong.
Which is entirely possible in this industry.
No way.
Yes. What's the most effective way for you to market yourself? Like what is number one thing, if you had to pick just one, and that was the only marketing you could ever do for you, what would it be?
I'm going to say, for me, being my authentic self. I am somebody, I don't post all the stats and do all the things real estate that you see some agents doing, not knocking that by any means. But if you look at my social media, it's 110% me, from my day-to-day life in real estate to my personal life to all the crazy things that I do. I just say, be your authentic self.
What is it? Making deals in heels or something?
Closing deals in heels.
Yeah, that's it.
And my best friend created it, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago. And it's just stuck. And it's the funniest thing is people walk up and like, are you the closing deals and heels girl? And I'm like, yeah,
that depends. Yeah.
Yeah. So
that's awesome. I love that. That's fantastic. What's your most effective marketing tool for a listing right now? Like what's your favorite arrow in the quiver there?
Angie Withrow.
I don't know Angie Withrow.
Angie is our go-to for everything. She's our chief of excellence on our team. So she does everything from making sure we check in with our goals and we're hitting our goals to all the marketing and the social media and all the things that I have no clue how to do without her. So whatever she says, whatever she does, I'm hands off on it. I'm grateful for that, but I let her do her thing.
There you go. Angie Withrow. Thank you, Angie.
Yes. Thank you, Angie.
All right. Next one. This is a fun one. Now you were, correct me if I'm wrong, but you were an active participant in MYP. Is that correct?
I am.
Murfreesboro Young Professionals. I see a lot of folks that get into what I call a networking trap, right? So they'll join the chamber, they'll join MYP, they'll join a BNI group, they'll join whatever, and all these groups, and they show up to network. They don't really have a goal. They don't really they don't ever generate anything out of that. So whether it's real estate or not, what is your approach to networking? And are you an effective networker in those settings?
I'll say yes and no. I go into it with the mindset of building relationships. I don't feel myself as a salesperson. So I joined MYP, and Casey Rainey told me years ago, if you're joining this group to gain business, we're probably not the best group for you. And now I find myself telling new members that all the time. Mm-hmm. I don't go into it with, who can I get a sale with? Who can I get a sale with? When I joined MYP, half the group was an insurance agent, lender, or real estate agent. I felt overwhelmed. I was like, I'll never get business out of this. And have I gotten direct sales from MYP? Not necessarily, but I've gained the relationships that have led me to other organizations or other people in the community that have led to transactions. But most importantly, it's the relationships that come out of it for me.
Yeah. So, that dovetails perfectly with kind of how I approach networking as well. And that is that, if I'm standing in a chamber group or wherever, the likelihood is that person that I'm standing there talking to knows 500 other real estate agents or more, right? In entire firms full of real estate agents. So I don't usually try to get their business. And, you said, you being your authentic self, just get to know them. Mm-hmm. I was with Weichert Realtors before, and one of the things that Jim Weichert is famous for saying is that people buy people before they buy houses.
Absolutely.
And I think that's 100% true. So, build the relationship and then maybe earn permission to ask for a referral, maybe not even their business.
And that's it. One of my best friends, her husband's best friend is a real estate agent. And then I'm her best friend and I'm a real estate agent. So when they came to buying and selling their houses, they're like, what do we do? And we're at two different firms. And to keep things even, they went with his mom, who's also a real estate agent, because we all know that many real estate agents, but they're great referral partners. Yeah. And they have no problem throwing my name out there. They might not personally use me, but they're going to refer me.
Because it does get weird if you're pretty good friends or, by association through a spouse or whatever. Who do you use? I've known people, a home inspector that I've used for years and years and years. He just chose not to use an agent at all. He contacted a whole bunch of agents and said, hey, I'm going to be selling my house. And he almost kind of brokered the deal himself, if that makes sense. And it worked fine for him because he didn't want to get into a weird moment where it's like, oh, well, I've given you 500 home inspections. Why didn't you use me? And this person says, well, I've given you 499, but mine were all bigger houses. So they were, you made more money. It's just not worth it.
Not that we're encouraging for sale by owner by any means.
No, but in that particular circumstance, it made a lot of sense.
It does. Yeah.
So, okay, cool. What's the biggest challenge that you've faced since you got licensed?
Ooh, staying motivated. Sometimes it gets overwhelming. This past year was a perfect example. I did very well for myself. Very grateful for it, but it was overwhelming this past year. And you and I briefly talked before the camera started rolling. It was hard. Business is booming. Real estate selling, it's not an issue, especially here in Middle Tennessee, but it wears you out. Yeah. So staying motivated. I find myself on occasion getting to where when my phone rings, I'm just stressed out.
Have you ever yelled at your phone? Like,
oh,
not right now.
Never. Never.
Can I just breathe for a second?
And, I'm sure you can say the same thing. We do. You know, the phone rings and it's like, holy crap, I just want a second to like breathe.
Yeah.
What was I doing? What am I supposed to be doing right now? And it's, taking care and nourishing these clients and these relationships because they're trusting us with the biggest transaction that they're going to make in their life.
Well, and this market is hard. A lot of our viewers, I'm sure, are thinking, oh, you're griping because, the market's so busy, but you're making a ton of money, blah, blah, blah. And we're not, to be honest with you, not compared to.
I'm so glad you brought this
up. and not compared to the amount of not just physical, like get in your car and drive to it work, but the emotional taxation that is going on right now. Okay, so I'm going to ask you, 20, however many transactions, which you don't have to name names, but how many was the highest number of offers that you wrote from one client before they got one?
Ooh. I would say 12.
You got me beat. So
okay.
One of my teammates wrote 9
okay.
For one, and the 10th one finally stuck. Guys, that is hard.
It's hard.
That is hard to lose that many times and stay in the game.
It's hard when you have their best interest and you're trying to work them through it and people don't quite understand the market. The client that I wrote the 12 offers for was one that went into it with the mindset of, I'm going to get a deal. So they wanted to come in under asking price, asking for concessions, 45-day closing, all these things. And we can't write the offer for them. And I tell them all the time, I will guide you through this, but I can't make decisions for you. And you have to let them lose so many times before they realize, okay, I can't keep coming in asking for closing costs and going in under asking price and taking days to figure things out. It's an emotional ride, but you have to make a decision and you have to make it like that. Yeah. You can't wait till the weekend to go see a house. You can't wait a few days to decide if it's the house. And I hate that for people because it's a big, big purchase. But if you like it, you got to make a move right then.
So 2 little things, a soundbite. You can put this in your toolbox. Okay. If you have to sleep on it, you may not sleep in it.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
That's a good one, right? And then the other thing, the perspective, and this is what we're really working on. And we kind of discussed this, I don't know, a couple months ago and came up with this. If you're worried about getting a deal right now, okay, if you had bought in December of 2020, your house appreciated 31% in Rutherford County, give or take. Okay, let's say 28 to 33%, somewhere in that range. So by comparison, you got a deal in 2020.
Yep.
And now it's gone up 30% ish. Yep. So if you wait now and it goes up, let's say it's half that, 15%. It's going to look like a deal, whatever you're paying for right now.
Well, and people keep referring to this crazy market like the crash in 2008, and it's
on my list. Go ahead.
Look at me.
Carry on. I love it.
And, I wasn't in business in 2008, but I mean, everybody knows what happened in 2008 through those few years. People keep referring to this market like it was then. Oh, we're going to crash at some point. Housing prices are going to come down. And of course, none of us have a magic ball where we can shake it and predict the future, but housing prices are not going down, especially here in Middle Tennessee. It's the number 1, number 2 place in the nation for people to move, where prices are not going down.
Not anytime soon.
And now interest rates are slowly creeping up, not to freak everybody out. It's not like they're jumping up from a 3 to a 6, but they are gradually increasing. You're not going to get those deals that you're out there looking for.
Yeah. Well, and as that interest rate ticks up and prices don't go down, your affordability shrinks very quickly. So that's the question. And it sounds like you're on the same, in the same camp as me. Are we in a bubble? Like, is this a bubble that has been forming?
Yeah. Again, I think it's a bubble, but not a bubble like it's going to burst. At some point, it's going to correct itself, which is what we need. We need things to level out, but I don't think it's going to burst where we're in a recession. And again, I can't predict the future, but I mean, Charles Edsel, I'm sure you've heard of him. You've heard him speak. Matthew Stumpton, then bring him here every year. It's not the same type of bust that we had several years ago.
Yeah, I actually heard him speak to the National Association of Home Builders. And one of the things that he talked about is that we have true deficits in inventory. And so the demand has strongly outpaced the supply. Yep. And because of that, the price increases are true economic economically driven increases.
Yep.
It's not speculative like it was in '08, and it's not people just quite frankly making horrible decisions. And we don't have the same irresponsible lending practices now that we did then. And so, according to Mr. Charles, that is the kind of the his take on it, that we're not going to see a bubble burst. I do think, though, that as interest rates tick up, and there's different predictions, we'll go up a full percent over the course of this year. We'll go up 1.5%. I've heard 0.75%. Yep. I've even heard, no, they're going to actually go up a little, and then they're flattening, and then they'll come back down because, anyway, all this different speculation. Yep. But as we see, especially if they go up and stay up, I think we'll see, and this is why I said 30%, even if it drops in half to 15%, I think that's a possibility.
Yeah, I agree. And again, we'll see. I wish we had a magic globe so we could all figure out what it's going to look like a few years from now, but you just got to ride the wave.
But at the end of the day, isn't it? It's impossible to time the market. Yep. Number one, and number two, people still have babies. People still die. People still get married. People still get divorced. People still have job transfers. So all the things happen that precipitate. Kids still go to college. Yep. And you got empty nesters. All the things happen that still precipitate somebody needing or wanting a new home.
Yep.
So what is your best advice to someone that's saying, man, I really want to move. I really need to be closer to work. I really whatever, but I just don't know right now.
I mean, using the example of December 2020 versus December 21 is kind of the example that I use. Is it's only going to appreciate, not depreciate. People that say, oh, I'm going to wait a year. I want to see how things go. And I don't want to be this sleazy car salesman trying to convince somebody like, oh yeah, you should go buy a house. But the reality of it is it's not going to go down. It's going to continue to go up. So if you're, worried about overpaying for a house now, imagine what it's going to be December 22 now.
Yeah.
It's only going to be higher.
Yeah. Are you having folks go to different areas?
Oh, yes. I am.
Tell me more.
I'm learning what Estill Springs is.
Oh, yeah.
So, Wilson County and Rutherford County tend to be where most of my business comes from. I grew up out in Wilson County and been in Rutherford County since 2004, but people are wanting to get out of that crazy city life. The traffic is the number one thing I hear is I want to get out of Murfreesboro for all this traffic. So I'm getting out into
Murfreesboro is 30 minutes from Murfreesboro. You know that, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I'm on the far south side of town. So trying to get anywhere. Yeah. It's a good 35 minutes.
Easily.
Yeah. But for me, I don't mind it because, that means we have things to do and places to go.
That's right.
We could have traffic and nothing to do.
That's a good point.
But yeah, so I'm finding myself out in Manchester and Tullahoma and Estill Springs, which is not my favorite, but if that's what my clientele is going to, that's where I'm going. So yeah, we're getting further and further out and learning new places every day.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the things that I've been telling folks now is if they're looking to make a move where they can potentially capitalize on this market and then maybe repeat it 3 years from now.
Yep.
The move to make is selling Rutherford County and buying coffee.
Yep.
In my opinion, that is especially that Manchester, real close to the interstate.
Yep.
I mean, that market's about 3 years behind us and it's moving.
Well, I'm sure you hear this a lot as well as I want land. I don't want a house where my neighbors are right on top of me. You're not getting that here in Rutherford County.
They can't.
As much as I love Rutherford County and I will sell Rutherford County all day, every day for all the amazing things we have, you're not getting that 1.5 acre lot where your neighbors are away from you.
No, not. I mean, you can get it.
But you're going to pay a price for it.
Yeah, super premium. And new construction, you're probably not going to get it.
No.
Very, very, very little.
No.
And not without 7 digits a lot of times. How crazy is that? How many $1 million homes have you seen in the last 16 months?
Yeah, it's insane.
Yeah, that never happened. I looked it up in 2019. There was like $26 million homes listed, not sold, in Rutherford County. And that was it. And there's like that many a month.
Yeah.
Now it's crazy, isn't it?
New construction in general is crazy. I'm a fan of new construction. I like new construction, being able to help people from the beginning to the end, but it's gotten hard.
Yeah.
It has gotten hard.
What's some of the craziest things you've seen? Don't name names because we'll get in trouble.
Yeah,
blah, blah, blah.
we won't do any
But
of that.
what's some of the craziest things you've seen start to get introduced in new construction? Because I cannot fathom not being in the industry and being unrepresented in a new construction purchase. Like I can't even, and especially right now, because there are some absolutely exploitive things that are happening on new construction contracts.
So the biggest two things for me I'm seeing is where it's not contingent on financing. So if you lose your job or whatever, they still expect you to buy this house. The high increase in earnest money for a basic generic home that we see in new construction where they're wanting you to put $10,000, $15,000 down as earnest money is crazy.
And it's non-refundable.
It's non-refundable.
Period.
Yeah. For whatever reason. But I think the biggest thing I'm seeing that just baffles me is that these builders can write a contract for X amount of dollars, and then if building prices increase or whatnot, they can change the price mid-contract.
Like some of them a couple of times.
Which means if you were qualified to buy the house now, by the time it's complete, you may no longer be qualified to buy that house.
And lose your earnest money.
Yeah.
So for me, yes, everything you just said. I've seen three things lately. I'm going to leave one of them out. Two things lately. One of them is there is a particular large scale builder that has such a backlog of people interested in purchasing a home from them. They have actually started, when they open a new lot, they've started doing highest and best on new construction.
I know who this is.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. We'll talk about this off camera, but I'm pretty sure I know who you're talking about.
That's now a thing. And the problem is you've got a defined list. You got to be real careful that you're not working into an auction scenario. And we've got the same kind of issue that we've got to make sure we're not working into an auction situation as well. But yeah, so that's one. The other one that I just don't get is contingent on a home sale when they're building you a house 6 months out.
6 months at the minimum.
Yeah, at the minimum.
Some of them are longer than that.
And we're pretty good at handling that. We're pretty good at managing that. We've got some resources. I've got some rental properties that I've been able to place people in, temporarily, that kind of thing. But man, oh man, that is terrifying.
Yep. Going back to the bidding on the new construction, I had one of these earlier. I guess I keep thinking we're in 2021, but earlier last year I had one, and it was bidding on the lot first.
Wow.
So you had to win the lot, and then if you won the lot, then you could talk about the house and floor plan, and then it was, select floor plans could fit on that lot, but they wouldn't really see pricing of what the houses even started at until you got past the point of winning the lot. And I'm like, bidding on lots in subdivisions, I've never heard of that.
Please, friends, use a professional on the buyer side of things, because sometimes you just got to say, look, man, it's crazy, but that's crazy.
Well, then, like a lot of new construction has the waiting list, and our team has gone around the world with new construction and builders and how they're doing things. And is it fair? Like, are you going down the list one by one and contacting, okay, John Doe doesn't want it, or Susie's already under contract for their house, you're next in line. And it's not happening that way. They're putting these people on a list and they're just picking at random whoever they want to contact next for that lot, or whoever's putting down more earnest money. And it's a free for all.
It is. And that's an interesting, man, we could do an entire podcast on that. All right, so let's do this one. And this is a fun one, and we'll ask. I'm gonna ask you a couple more questions after this, and then we'll wrap it up. But what right now in residential real estate? What is the biggest threat to this industry? To the people, to the pros that are doing the work and truly representing our clients. What is the biggest threat to our industry right now?
The corporations, the Zillows, the Open Doors, the OfferPad.
Not Zillow.
Well, yeah, because they're getting.
Sorry, I can't keep the smile off my face.
They're getting out, but it's these corporations that don't have anything in the game. They don't care about these people. It's just about closing deals, and they're coming in and offering absurd amounts for these houses, which is complete opposite of how it used to be. Cash offers, and then getting to the inspection periods and coming in with $20,000 worth of
slamming them, yeah, or more,
and it's our job, but it's also hard to explain to our sellers. Yes, they're throwing these numbers out there at you, but
they're not real.
And
you're not saving on fees, because their fees are actually higher.
$1 on fees. just trying to educate people through that it's tough. It's challenging because, of course, people see the numbers when the net sheets come in of, oh, they're offering me X amount of dollars and they're significantly higher than everybody else, but they're not seeing the other side of it that we see on a daily basis of the absurd amount that they're coming in on inspections or all the rules that they have in place that they don't negotiate. There is no negotiation with these companies. It's very cut and dry. You use their title company, you use their lenders, the whole 9 yards, and trying to explain that to your buyers and sellers is fun.
Yeah. By fun, you mean not fun.
Positivity. We're spreading the positivity.
Oh, so I'm more like spread the realism, spread the realistic. So, Trent, do you have any questions for Robin?
No.
Oh, that was helpful. Yep. Thanks, man. What's your favorite nonprofit group in our area?
Second Harvest.
Why is that?
I'm just very passionate about, feeding those in need. And whenever you go and they give you the stats of how many people in your own community are food hungry, it takes you back a little bit of how blessed you are. It's 1 in 8 for kids and 1 in 5 for adults, I believe. And, I think Taylor and them do a great job over there. And it's something you can go volunteer for an hour, 2 hours and knock it out for the day. And I just love how they run things over there.
Same way, or same thing. So my son and I had he's 15. We had a really interesting conversation one day, and his school was doing a food drive for Second Harvest. This is a great thing. Okay. Very, very good thing. But because of Taylor, I started talking. I said, really, if you guys wanted to address the problem a little bit stronger, instead of bringing in cans of food, you're better off having a fundraiser and getting money.
Yep.
Because if you spend $1 on a can of beans or 89 cents plus tax, which works out to $1, that's actually could be 4 meals that Second Harvest can do. And we talked about economies of scale and all this other stuff. And he was like, wow, so this food drive is kind of pointless, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I was like, I wouldn't call it pointless. I'm not going to say that, but a more efficient use is to just donate the money,
because they can make that dollar go a whole lot further
than I ever could dream of.
And a lot of people don't realize that. Like, they say, I can just go buy some 89-cent beans and, it's nothing, but that 89-cent can of beans is, like you said, 4 meals for somebody, because Taylor can take that dollar and make it stretch out a lot.
Not to mention, where do people go when they're stocking up for a food drive? Aldi, Walmart, and they're buying all the cheap stuff. Well, if people are going to buy for themselves and they're food insecure, what are they trying to buy?
The name brands.
Well, no, the cheap
cheap stuff.
So if you've bought it all for this food drive, think about that for a second.
Right.
Or
we get snow and everybody goes and hoards everything in the grocery store.
Yeah. I was in there the other night and I was like, man, this looks like a scene out of The Walking Dead. Like there was nothing on the shelves.
I'm somebody that never goes grocery shopping because I live by myself and I'd rather eat out anyways. And the last snow, was it 2 weeks ago? Had nothing in the house besides Oreos and vanilla wafers. So for 2 days, I ate vanilla wafers and Oreos.
That's awesome.
So this time I was like, oh, it's going to snow. I'm going to go and just get groceries. I'm not going to hoard things. So I went to Sprouts and did a little shopping. And then I got nothing but rain on my side of town for 2 days.
Well, at least you had dry groceries or in the house, right?
I had food this time.
That's right. That's funny. All right. So shout out to Second Harvest. Love those guys over there. And that's it. So the only other question I have, and this we can discuss this if you like, but why did you join Bud George's team? Why not be all on your own?
So I get that question a lot, and I actually started out on my own. And going full time, my mentor Bobby kept saying, "You've got to quit your job. Come, we'll take good care of you." Bud had came to me. I barely knew who Bud was and how awesome he was at this point. He said, come be on the team. And he's like, but you have to quit your job. He's like, and you have to do real estate full time. And I told him, I can't do this. Like, I can't go full time right now. I can't quit my job. And Bud told me, I will do whatever I have to do to make sure that you're taken care of. And from that point forward, Bud started having me take care of his phone on the weekends. So I would do his showings and stuff and his open houses, and he would compensate me for it.
Mm-hmm.
And he compensated me well, to the point where I finally felt comfortable enough branching out 2 years later. And even then I still went by myself independently. And then Bobby said, if Bud ever asks you to be on the team again, you say yes. He said, because he won't ask again. So he eventually came back around and he asked, and I battled it back and forth for quite a while. Like, I'm having to give Parks part of my money. I'm having to give Bud part of my money. Like, I'm not going to have any money left, was all I kept telling myself. And Bobby kept reassuring me. He's like, it's not like any other team. I promise you that. And he has proven, like, we are like no other team. Bud's number one goal and mission is to make us successful and to make sure that we are learning and growing as individuals, even though we're on a team. So our commission splits, without going into details, are literally like no other team. Bud makes sure that we're well taken care of, we're successful. Another shout out to Angie. She's a godsend in all the things that she does for us. And then we have Heather, who, bless her heart, she gets to put up with all of us and all of our different styles of doing business. But she keeps us in line and she keeps us in check. And those are things that are just invaluable. And people ask, and, would you ever go back to your own? And I can't say no, I would never go back to doing it on my own. But as of right now, I don't see it in my future. Mostly, I could not function without Heather and Angie. But
it's good when you got that good admin, isn't
it? It's life changing.
Yeah.
I mean, if I had to start a listing or any of those things, she's taking care of it and she's making sure we're all in check.
I had to learn DocuSign the other day, and I've been an Authentisign for like my whole life, and
and see, we use dot loop, and she can go in and she can make sure our loops are in order and it's customized how I like it and all those good things. But it also helps having people of expertise in everywhere. So we've got somebody that's a new construction pro on our team. We've got people that are land pros and commercial, and we've got a guy that he knows Nashville like the back of his hand. So when you get those opportunities and those experiences, you know who to go to, and they're going to make sure that you're covered. You're going to walk you through. I'm doing a land deal right now that land is completely different than residential if you've never done it.
Absolutely.
I'm doing the contract and I'm like, I don't know anything about a land contract. I don't know what boxes to check and how many days to put in for your due diligence periods and all these things. And I was like, let me call Josh. And I called Josh and he ever so graciously walked me through it and we got under contract, but it's a different learning than residential that I can do like the back of my hand.
whole different set of due diligences. I mean, it's completely different, and you can really, really screw it up if you're not very careful.
Yeah. So,
but it's just land. There's not even a house on it.
No, it's not just land, and that's and I had a little knowledge of that beforehand, but getting in the contract of learning, it's not just land, and I'm sure you hear all the time is like, I want to buy some land and build a house on it.
Are you sure about that?
Yeah, because people think you just go buy the land and you eventually just build a house on it, but they don't know all the steps. Like, is it tapped for utilities? Is there electricity? Like all these things that you as the buyer, that's an expense for you if it's not there and not in place. Is it perked? How many, perk means, how many bedrooms and bathrooms can you build on it? You have to figure all that out before you just go buy some land.
That is expensive and
time consuming and
months and months and months.
And that's another part of it is, we can close a house residential 30 to 45 days typically, unless it's new construction. If you're looking at land to build, it is months worth of process. It's months of inspections and all these different
before you ever break ground.
And trying to get on those people's list, surveyors and stuff like that, they're backed up for months.
Yep. Even long of all of the service providers that we interact with, that's the longest lead time by far.
Yep.
So, well, Robin, we appreciate you very much and appreciate working with you. We've almost done a deal together.
I know.
It was so close.
It was
so close. But of course, interacted with you at all kinds of different social events and charity events and things like that. And you're an asset in this community for sure.
I appreciate that. You as well.
And you're doing a great job over there. And I guess I kind of like Bud too. If he's watching, he's all right. He's really tall. That's all I know.
He is very tall.
I'm really short, so there might be just a little bit of jealousy there. But anyway, no, Bud George, y'all's team is top notch. Yeah, so you're doing good work.
I agree. I think we're a team like no other, and we bring some competition for everybody else.
No doubt. All right. So real quick, again, back to Brian Nail, my guy over there at Iberia Bank Mortgage. And he is our go-to. He's our go-to guy for mortgage lending. Really just all the cool kids use Brian Nail. Have you noticed that?
He's great at what he does. He's genuine. And I have another lender, Matthew Stump, as well. But Brian he's my go-to guy. And he's great at what he does. And he's just all around good guy.
And Matthew as well. But and then we also use Austin Barnard over at FCM. the thing is, what makes a great lender is also what makes a great real estate agent. And that is, do they genuinely care about the advice that they're giving?
Yep.
Do they genuinely look at that person's circumstance and go, no, you shouldn't do this?
Yep.
Or, yeah, you should do this, but you should do it this way.
Yep.
And if they hit that criteria only, that's a great start. Right. And then it comes down to the support team around him and all that kind of stuff. But
didn't mean to interrupt your
no, you're right. But that's a good point to make, is that's what makes a lender and a real estate agent and a title company and everybody else. That's what makes them great. Do they genuinely care about the well-being of the person that they're serving?
Yep.
So, and Brian does.
He absolutely does.
And he cares about Spread the Positive, and he cares about this community. So we'd love us some Brian Nail. Also, we got Trent Denson back there behind the cameras. Trent with Spread the Positive, love spreading the positive as well. Trent, you got anything?
Just want to say thanks, Robin. You're a legend. You know, nothing but love your way as always. Yeah, we need to get you plugged into some type of STP Connect.
Yeah.
You know how I am with the camera and the microphone.
What? You
great.
Just
killed it.
Are you kidding?
I'm making progress. The first time I ever did a podcast with Trent is before the actual
that was
cameras.
Legendary.
He had to cut and edit and rewind.
Fix it in post, huh?
Dude, there was 17 different
and
blue
it's his
lines.
fault because he messed up selling. It's no worry if you mess up. He's like, I can go back and we can start it over. And
I
was
should
like,
not have said that. That was a big mistake. But Robin you were like number 4, like 3 or 4.
Yeah.
So she's been a long time supporter. Super grateful for all the support, and got your crew neck ready. I know you've been waiting on that for years too.
I did not know this.
Yeah, I've told you. It's on the website. I'll send you a link.
Yeah.
Outstanding.
But thank you.
I've been asking for a crew neck, Spread the Positive
3 years
sweatshirt for years, and he's only done the hoodies. And I'm like, I just want a crew neck. I don't want the hood. So I'm glad
That's
you got
hilarious.
it.
They're there. They're on the website.
Outstanding.
Just for you. I'm gonna call it the Robin C.
There you go. There you go.
That would make me a legend at that point.
Absolutely.
I might do that just for you.
Just put a high heel on the shoulder.
Yeah, we should.
Just put a high heel on the shoulder.
You're not helping him at all right now.
Dude, that'd be clean. I might have to do a custom.
That would be
Robin
awesome.
C.
I love it. Well, again, thank you so much. If you have any questions about real estate, give Robin or myself a call, and we would love to help you. And otherwise, have a fantastic week. Thank you.
Thank you.
Goodbye.